There's an old joke that goes something like, what are the world's four shortest books? And the answer is 1, The Complete Guide to Arab Democracies, 2, The Bowler's Guide to Health and Fitness, 3, Negroes I Have Met While Yachting, and 4, Greatest French Military Victories. Now, groups of men have been engaging in armed conflict with one another since time immemorial, since thousands of years before our written records even begin, and all through all those battles and all that time, there is only one country that's ever been the punchline when you're making jokes about sucking at war, and it is France. But hey, it's not entirely their fault. For Christ's sake, their two greatest war heroes are an Italian midget and a 13-year-old girl. So when the universe deals you a hand like that, you better get used to being the butt of a lot of jokes. Like, what's the official design of the French flag? A white cross with white stars on a white field. Or, what are the only two commands in French infantry drill? 1, about face. 2, run for your damn lives. And then there is everybody's favorite. For sale, French rifle, brand new condition, never fired, only dropped once. The point being, when you've developed the reputation of being a country of cheese-eating surrender monkeys, you have to take your victories where you can get them, really. And it was on this very date, 229 years ago, Friday, 23 January 1795, that France won one of the most unusual victories in the entire annals of military history. And what made it unusual, you ask? Well, you tell me how many stories you've ever heard about a squadron of warships being captured by a regiment of horse cavalry. Never heard one? Exactly. Because this is the only damn time that has ever happened. Now, let's quickly set the scene, shall we? Revolutionary France was on a pretty good run as the calendar flipped from 1794 to 1795. They had mostly dispensed with the purges and the terrors and the mass executions and the Civil War and all that stuff. And now it was time to fight some other countries instead of just fighting themselves. And so was born the War of the First Coalition, in which the British and the Dutch and most of the rest of the European great powers try to dogpile on France so they can defeat the revolution and restore the Bourbon monarchy and set the world back on its proper axis. But it didn't go quite the way the Dutch were hoping, to the point where, not only did we not win, we got our ass conquered. Our story takes place in the immediate aftermath of said conquest, at the port of Den Helder on the tip of the North Holland Peninsula. Then, as now, the home port of the Dutch fleet. The French have subdued the Dutch on land, but there still is an open question about the intentions of the Dutch Navy. The French have dissolved the Dutch Republic, and the last stadholder, William V, has fled to England to go live in exile. A puppet state called the Batavian Republic has been proclaimed by the conquerors, to which the Dutch land forces have already pledged their fealty and obedience. But there are rumors afoot that the Dutch Navy isn't quite on board with this new arrangement, and they might try to make a break for the British Isles and go fight alongside the Royal Navy, much the same way as the Poles and the Free French did, among others, during the Second World War. But it's an unusually cold winter in 1795, so cold, in fact, that the port of Den Helder, which normally doesn't ice over, has well and truly iced over this year, so the Dutch fleet can't really make a break for it, even if they want to. But the French, they still have no real means of ascertaining the Dutch level of hostility, if any. So through some strange series of machinations that can only be guessed at, they decide the prudent thing to do is to send the 8th Hussar Regiment, horses and all, across the frozen bay to make contact with the Dutch admirals and, if necessary, do battle with their fleet if they should happen to take things the wrong way. But hold on a minute, say the Hussars. We do battle with sabers on horseback. If we approach these guys and they start firing on us, what the hell are we supposed to fire back with? And after another series of machinations that can only be guessed at, a solution is agreed upon. We will call up an infantry regiment. We will put one soldier on the back of every horse. So if we get fired on during the approach, those guys can dismount and return fire with their muskets. And if we wind up having to fight a boarding action, we will send in the hussars with their sabers and cutlasses and all that shit. And if there was anybody in the room who said, wait, isn't it maybe not the best idea in the world to double the weight on the horses when we are attacking across frozen water? History has not registered his objection. They want to make a stealthy approach, so they make their way under cover of darkness, the horses' hooves wrapped in canvas to reduce noise. But in the actual event, well, the Dutch were rather delighted to have some unexpected visitors. And you know how the freaking Dutch are with their congenital friendliness. Oh, welcome. Please come aboard. Can I offer you a beverage? Interrogated regarding their intentions, they said, well, since you guys just rode some fucking horses right up to our fleet, it goes without saying that we aren't going anywhere anytime soon. Mostly, we were planning on just kind of hanging out here in the bay until the ice melts or the situation on shore calms down, one or the other, ideally both. We figure eventually somebody with some lawful authority will show up and tell us what to do, and if that's you guys, hey, that's cool. The French commander, he was happy to take them at their word, and the hussars and the voltigeurs duly took their leave, men with swords on horseback who had just captured an enemy naval fleet without firing a single shot in anger. But to put things in football terms, hey, a playoff win is a playoff win, am I right? The scoreboard doesn't say how well you played that day, it just says you scored more points than the other bastard. Even if the only scoring play in the whole game was the other guys fumbling the ball out the back of their own end zone for a safety. But that 2-0 victory will remain on the record books for all time, just like the glorious French victory at the Battle of Den Helder. And being France is a lot like being the Chargers, really. Of the playoff wins are so few and far between, you're in no position to complain about the ones that you do get. Also, fuck the fucking Chargers.